So you ever been driving down the road, you hit the brakes, and your steering wheel starts shaking like crazy? That's because your rotors are warped. Today, we're going to put some new rotors on the Santa Fe. 2017 Hyundai Santa Fe Sport. So I'm going to get it pulled over here in the driveway and let's get to it. See you in a bit. First off, we're going to take off the wheel. And then we're going to use a 14mm socket, taking off the brake caliper. Then we're going to use a wire tie. We're going to tie the caliper up and hang it here. This was a wire tie, zip tie, whatever you want to call it. So it's up out of the way and not hanging by the brake hose. And then we're going to take off this part here first. We're going to put some aero coil to help try and loosen the rotor. Now you'll need a 17mm socket so we can remove the caliper bracket. Go ahead and take out the old brake pads. Got these little springs, so you can take off. Save those springs because you don't get new ones. At least my kit didn't come with new ones. Alright, we've got the caliper bracket off. Now it's time to remove the rotor. Take the old rotor off. Some brake clean in there. And go get the other rotor. spray it with brake clean to clean off any of the machining oil residue before we install it. Now I'm going to take some anti-seize or never seize, put around the surface, the mating surfaces, just to keep it from kind of locking up. You have to pay attention when you put these rotors back on to make sure that the keeper hole lines up in the right spot. As you see, you've got a stud here and a keeper screw hole here, but your stud is here and your keeper hole is here, so that's not going to line up right there. So we have to turn it. We got the stud here, keeper hole here, stud here, keeper hole here. And clean this little keeper screws up. Put a little bit of anti-seize on there. A little too much, but it'll work. You started, screwdriver, tighten it up. This Evolution Power Stop Evolution Sport Kit comes with new boots to put on your calipers. So for your caliper bolts, so we'll go ahead and replace them. It's very easy to do. Just pull it out, slide the old one off, take a rag, wipe it down. New boot. It's got the thick end that seats into the caliper bracket. This end goes around, fits over your bolt shoulder. It's easier if you just go ahead and pop it in here onto the bracket. And then we'll take some of this brake caliper grease, coat the pin with it. Pop it back in, and see there, it pops back on the shoulder. So now we're going to do this side. You pull it back out. Well, but this one has another rubber piece on the bottom of it, on the stud right there, so you can just pop it off while you've got it out apart. Pulls right off. A new one. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it just slides right on. I'm going to take the other boot, do the same thing, pop it in, like that. Put some more caliper grease on. And put it back together. Next step, I'm going to pop these old slides off. Go ahead and spray some brake clean on them. Wipe them down. And I'm going to apply some caliper grease to all the mating surfaces. On both sides, top and bottom. Put the new ones on there. Just like that. Now it's time to mount the bracket back on to the wheel. We'll put some anti-seize on the threads. And put the bottom stud in. And take the top one back out. Because I didn't put no anti-seize on it. Put some anti-seize on the threads for it. Take our 17mm, tighten those bolts back up. Get snug on the top, then hit the bottom snug. Tighten the top. We'll put our 14mm back on. Take our new pads. This one is for the back. On the back side back here. Take the brake grease, apply it to the little ears. Be sure not to get anything on the pad itself. The braking surface, if you do, just wipe it off. Use some brake clean. And then I'm going to coat this whole pad right here with it. And then we'll put it on the back like this. Your wear indicator goes on the bottom, on the back side. Pop it in, slide it in, whatever you want to call it. And we'll do the same thing with this one. Put some brake grease right on the ears. This will help keep them, let them slide in the brackets in here on the mating surface. Keep them from seizing up, let them slide. And then we're going to cover this whole pad again, just like we did on the back side. We're going to do the same thing on the front. Coat that whole surface. Okay, and then in place. And this is what you should be looking at. Put our springs back in these two little holes. There, the top one. And the bottom one. That should be what you're looking at. Now we're going to cut this loose. Our caliper. And we need to compress this back down. So we'll take an old brake pad to make up the space difference in there. Then we use a brake compression tool. Make sure your brake fluid reservoir lid is off, so that when you close this or compress this, pushes the fluid back into your reservoir. Just turn it a little bit, it'll slowly compress. Keep working it until it's all the way collapsed. You'll know it's all the way collapsed because you don't have any gap right there anymore. So then you take it loose, take that off. Now your cylinder is all the way closed. We'll take our caliper bolts, put a little bit of anti-seize on those. Fit it over the front and rear brake shoes. Now we take our 14mm socket. Tighten them back up. Then I'm going to take some of the brake clean, spray on. Take some anti-seize and put on the studs for the lug nuts. Now you've got new rotors, new pads. Now we can put our wheel back on. Jack it up a little bit more. I can pull my jack stand out. And torque it at 80 foot-pounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there you have it.